I love the way the First Gen Lounge makes me feel.
Because it creates a space where I belong.
Where we're able to create community.
The fact that it's a community.
It's a safe place.
It also gives me a place to understand different perspectives.
The stories of these individuals prescribe transformational perspective.
I receive encouragement, enlightenment, empowerment.
And also serve as a catalyst to just keep going.
Where we're able to be our true selves.
I'm allowed to be an unapologetic first gen.
And above all else, tell our story.
And every episode is unique.
I love it.
I'm your host, Dr. Eve, and I'd like to welcome you to the First Gen Lounge.
Hello, dear. So glad that you are here. And if you are new, what's up, boo? So glad to have you. So 5 years in the game, celebrating 5 years as an entrepreneur. How exciting is this moment? It's very exciting, actually. Like, not even kidding you, like for real, very happy about it. So what I thought would make sense in this celebration, thinking about things that I've learned and know what we talk about here, is to tap in and have a chat with you about something, as you can tell by the title, that is talked about but ain't really talked about. So we're gonna talk about it here because this is definitely a safe space for us to have conversations about all things life and entrepreneurship, but as well as just realizing you don't know what you don't know. And when you don't know what you don't know, you can't act or do anything any differently, right? So tapping into the why you can't pick my brain. Now, when I say my brain, not just my brain, but even the brains of others who you may have seen talk about this or kind of like allude to it. Like, I think there's this t-shirt that says, pick your payment method first, then you can pick my brain or something like that. And it's actually quite hilarious when you understand it. But when you don't, it's kind of like, that's rude. Because I used to be that person to think that people who had these ways about not wanting to help others when they were doing something that maybe I wanted to do, even they were being selfish. But now that I know, that's not the case. Being an entrepreneur and being an employee are not the same things. And it's just really interesting because much like being in any professional environment, there seems to be like sometimes these unspoken rules, right, that you just kind of have to learn. And when I talk about, being an employee, not being an entrepreneur, think about this. When you go to work, you have access to what you need, or at least you should, right? You've given a professional development budget to be able to go to conferences and do things. You have your desk, your chairs, chairs. I hope you have more one chair in your office or, you have your office supplies. For the most part, you are funded. So going in as an employee, it is your role, your job, to help the organization to thrive. And what this organization does is gives you what you need to thrive. And let's just say sometimes there's situations where you may be working on a project and you're you're told to be resourceful. So just like going to conferences, we're going to exchange ideas and see what other institutions are doing and blah, 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 right? And you do this with your colleagues. Emphasis on colleagues for a minute, because I'm going to come back to that. So you do this with your colleagues. And so it's not a big deal, because be it that you get on the phone with Jackie at such and such university or Scott at, such and such corporation, y'all can talk all day, y'all can go do lunch, y'all can do all the things, right? And it's not going to change if or not you're going to have money coming in, because you're going to get that check every 2 weeks or every month or whatever that looks like. So I mention that because for entrepreneurs, especially those who are just getting started, but even those who are off and out and thriving, right? What the time looks like and the investment of energy looks like is not the same. So when it comes to being an entrepreneur, I know that what people are thinking, or at least based on the folks who I've talked to, in my little circle, asking to pick one's brain may indicate or trigger signal a few things to this particular person. One of the things may be that you don't respect that person's time. When a person is running a business, time is critical to the growth and development of that business, because you only have so many hours in a day. And especially as you are building a business or scaling a business, maintaining a business, it requires time. And while individuals do grow and build teams, there's still a significant amount of time that goes to thinking about what's next, thinking about the future, planning, meetings, executing, being at the drawing board, figuring out what new offers are going to be like. Time is really, really of the essence. I think whoever made that saying, time is money, was probably an entrepreneur. I don't know. Because really, when you think about the marketing, when you think about legal things, when you think about showing up and doing events and appearances and photo shoots and press and all the things, there's so many things. And of course, you might just be realizing or figuring out, these things. And again, that's why we're talking. But when you think about the time component, there's so many things for an entrepreneur to do, but not just that. Entrepreneurs are still people. They want to spend time with their families. We want to vacation. We want to practice self-care. We want to do all those things. So asking to pick one's brain is also saying that, hey, stop what you're doing and what you're supposed to be doing, right? And help me. But it's kind of like, well, why should I do that when my priorities may look a little different? Because if 15 people reach out, want to just pick your brain in a week, okay? And that, let's just have a 30-minute conversation. And then, sometimes people just get chatty and start one talking, going on and on and on. And at that point, that 15 minutes, depending on who that person is, may become a set 30 minutes or an hour. And whoever's on the other line, again, just really depends on the person. It could become an hour, and that hour becomes 15 hours. And that 15 hours can become almost 2 days, 2 nights worth of sleep. So it may be that I'm so innocently asking just for a couple of minutes of that person's time, right? Because this used to be me too. I'm not even going to sit up here and act like it wasn't me. But that just 15 minutes really does add up, because that's 15 minutes of meditation that person could have taken. That's 15, minutes that could have been put forth on a hiring decision. That's 15 minutes that, depending on what that person does, could have helped bring in a few stacks for their business, right? And going back to the business thing, the entrepreneur is responsible for all the professional development, all the services that are, being used to make the business grow and scale, anything that's being purchased, products, or just the creation of things. Entrepreneurs don't have someone funding that. They have to fund it. So even if that is going out getting grants or loans or finding investors, entrepreneurs carry that full responsibility. So each moment in time is critical for a lot of entrepreneurs, just in the work that they're doing to have a thriving, successful business that you grow to admire. So I'm saying this like, hey, don't take it personal, but also think about who and how you're going to be as an entrepreneur and how you're going to move. And I am fully convinced, in my life, that a lot of times you don't understand things until you experience them. So again, this is to give you that insight to what's happening with some folks, but not all, but some folks. So it's just really too about having the boundaries. But like saying, I just want 15 minutes of your time, you may not also realize that there are, again, several other people who are also asking for that same 15 minutes. And that 15 minutes definitely adds up. And those 15 minutes, just like a minute in life, just period, are critical. So I want to put that out there, right? So when you got to make priorities, again, like, being in a organization and being an entry level coordinator versus somebody who might be a VP or senior VP, the time and efforts and responsibilities don't look the same. And how likely is it that you're just going to be, sitting and chopping it up with the senior VP unless y'all like besties or something? So it's just kind of taking that same framework and thinking about the building of relationships with those who are entrepreneurs who may not be accessible and may not have, time. Because when you're the boss, like, there's always work to do. So remember that for yourself, but also consider that for yourself as you're thinking about building and growing your own business. And people start hitting you up saying, yo, I just want 15 minutes of your time. And, you want to help, but then how thin are you really going to spend yourself? Or remember, everything you say yes to, you're saying no to something else. So know that. Which also brings me to this point that when you ask people to pick their brain, sometimes it indicates to them that you don't value what they do professional, that you don't see them as a professional, right? And that can be like, dang, it's like that though, because Would you call up your doctor's office and say, yo, let me pick your brain right quick? So entrepreneurs are professionals, and especially when they are doing something that you want to do, and then they have programs for it, what you're saying is, I'm not even going to acknowledge that you got this going on. I don't even care. You may not be saying that, but again, just kind of sharing some of the things that I've learned and I've experienced. So with that, it can be one of those things where, yes, you are trying to, build and trying to grow and trying to learn and try to do these things. But then you're asking to pick my brain as though I haven't worked hard to build what I have right now and to put the effort into achieving the success that this business may carry. And especially, I really tap into this, especially when that person offers programs, services, or products that are to solve your problems, because it kind of says to them well, wait a minute, you should give me this for free. Give me. There's a lot of conversations about the whole free thing. And as an entrepreneur, free is lead, right? Free ends up being lead, but that's also another conversation for another day about free and attracting customers and quality and all the kind of stuff, because I'm just going to say it because it's what I believe and it's what I know. People don't tend to appreciate what they don't pay for. And that's just a widespread, I'm going to say fact. Am I going to be that bold today? Yes, I'm just going to say a fact with that. So just be mindful. And again, if you can, try to put yourself in that other person's shoes, because think about what you're building, right? And think about what you desire to have for yourself. There are elements and components for which you can be a mentor and choose how you spend that time and choose what you are sharing with the world. But as you continue to move up in what you're doing, and that time again becomes more critical, your skills are developed. You have again a level of success that you're not only trying to maintain, but you also want to continue to grow and thrive. People picking your brain will start to feel sometimes even challenging, but not just that, it's going to hit different. Let me just say that it's just going to hit real different. And again, I used to think like I reached out to a couple people back then when I don't know better, like, hey, I would love to take about 10 minutes. And they'd be like, can you just send me this in email? And I was like, what? Wait a minute. They're so impersonable, but I just didn't understand then. So this is what I'm telling you now. It's not about not even being personable, but I'm going to say this too. This is one of my new favorite things to say. Just because I'm personable doesn't mean I'm accessible. And just because I'm not accessible doesn't mean I'm not personable. So you can't look at the two and be like, well, she like this because she said that. But really taking into account that, and even as, obviously as a woman, having this level of sensitivity and level of concern for other folks, that it's kind of like, oh, well, I don't, I want to care and make sure I take care of everybody, right? But you still got a house to keep in order. You still have to be fed yourself. You still have employees to feed, if you have employees at that point. So there's so many things you have to consider when you're thinking about just kind of, again, the what's really going on. And it's not about the emotions, right? It's about the practicality and literally handling the business. Now, another thing that I would share, and again, not all encompassing, but want to throw some things at you, not really throw them, but just kind of like toss them, is that entrepreneurs, talked about it really quickly earlier, but just in that investment, there are several thousands, hundreds of thousands even of dollars that are put into a person's development for their business. Again, aside from like equipment and subscriptions and having a team and benefits and stuff, right? Just even their own development to get to where they're going and to become who they're trying to become, if it's coaching, if it's programs themselves. So one thing is like to say that I want to pick your brain. It also dismisses that they have made such significant investment. Kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, you don't value them as a professional, but just even in the investment, right? When we hear, because I'm included, right, with the group, it's like, dang, the only way a business is a business is if it is profitable, right? And so a part of being profitable is that I've got to do my own personal development. And no kidding, I don't have one, haven't had one yet. But there are some coaches that are as much $50,000, $100,000. But that thing is, they're going to get you there. And something that you will learn with time is that your investments definitely change as you grow, but also what you are willing to invest. People, when they are the people who are part of your tribe, if it's the right tribe, that's what they'd be willing to invest in you. Just like you go to school, I can't tell you it was ever put to me this way, but I learned it in being an entrepreneur. That being, when I went to school, like, we don't always see education as an investment. Some people do, some people don't. It's just kind of like go to college and, get a good job. But we're not really thinking about, if I go to this institution, I get this degree, how much is this degree going to be? And then what is the job going to look like that I'm going to have after the fact, right? So if I even took that and put it into an entrepreneurial context, then what that looks like is I'm going to invest $10,000 in this program to help build my business so that I can make $100,000, in revenue. But the investment is so small compared to what I should be making, right, long term. Similar to going to an institution to get a degree, what your earnings look like as you get more education, or depending on your field, will help to shape, again, what kind of money you make on down the line. So the investment is the investment, right? And so even now, like, as somebody who's about to finish education, who already has an education, you made an investment. So you deserve, to get what you want out of that degree, but even out of your professional experiences. And so with that, when you have entrepreneurs who are working tirelessly to put all of this energy into being able to deliver something fantastic to the world to help change lives, right? Entrepreneurs solve problems, entrepreneurs change lives. That's really what it is. Then it's an idea that picking my brain is not that I don't want to help you, right? But I've made the investment in for where you're trying to go. And I'm going to say this to you now, you got to learn how to make the investments. You're just going to put it out there. You have to pay to play. That's just what it is. And something that I did not really think about was that early on, in entrepreneurship, somebody said something to me a while ago as well that really hit home. And I was like, whoa, that's something. But are you willing to invest like you're trying to get people to invest in you? You can't be out here trying to make all this good money or do all these things, right? And not be willing to do the same for others. And it's kind of just going back to this idea of you get what you give, but not just that, but quality, right? Quality matters. So of course you can go get, I ain't trying to throw no shade, but the dollar store lotion, but is it going to be Bath and Body Works, right? So they both gonna work. One may last a little bit longer, but really I know accessibility and things do come up, so I'm not even trying to play nobody on that. But it's just this idea that it's learning to invest. And I would tell you, for me, it was having to learn how to change my mindset, because being that I'm, first gen low income, I had this idea in my head about things being given to me or things being free because of affordability. But like anything, I've learned that it's not about free as it is about investment and having opportunities that I may not be able to get when I don't make the same kind of investment, or if I don't make an investment at all. And any entrepreneur will tell you that you can take advantage of free opportunities, but they're only going to get you so far, and free don't get you far. I'm going to tell you that, because I spent a lot of time doing it, get free. But again, it's about access and paying to play. It's just paying to play. Anybody who's gotten to learn it over time will tell you that it's really sometimes even being able to be in the same room with folks, or to be able to have opportunities like you would with going to school, you've got to make the investment. And so that's what I'm saying about that. So yeah, so I've spent, some of the time wanted to just be as honest with you, but again, kind of give you some perspective, but also give you some things to think about as you're thinking about your own journey as an entrepreneur, and how you're going to show up and what things are going to matter to you. Because one day this will be you on the other side of it. And, you owe it to yourself to really show up as best as you can in this world. I think I'll say that. But not that I'm trying to excuse anybody's rudeness either. Let me say that, because sometimes people just straight up rude. But hoping that by sharing these thoughts with you, that you have a perspective of what some of us are talking about that you're not talking about with us, because you ain't at the table. Well, here's the table, right? And here is me inviting you to the conversation to know what is happening on some ends, and not in a way that is done without love or without thoughtfulness, but in a way that this is what we have been talking about, but this is what life looks like. And A lot of us who are entrepreneurs end up working significantly more than we did in our 9 to 5s. But a lot of us love what we do as well. But we also take serious and understand boundaries as well. But we also understand that we really can't serve the world as best we can if we aren't making money. We understand that money is not necessarily everything, but money is definitely significant. I'm going to say that too. Till the next time you consider reaching out to somebody, and I'm not saying don't reach out to people, do you? Reach out, shoot your shot, take your chance, but to have an understanding of why you may have one response over the other, or some of the things that may be running through that person's head when you do the whole can I pick your brain thing. And again, it's just because when you don't know, like I said much earlier, you just don't know. And I probably would have saved myself a lot of embarrassment if I had known some of the things that I just shared with you about what the whole can I pick your brain thing means or what it may signify to folks. Probably could have thought differently about some relationships as well and been more strategic. But don't be afraid to make the investment in whatever that thing that you look like. And also trying to solve the problem for free a lot of times may be something that, again, free only gonna get you so far. I'm gonna say it 1,000 times. But trying to solve the problem, when you're investing in things, it's not about necessarily spending money as it is, one, likely expediting a process that you have, but also getting the access to the resources and some of the skills and experiences that you need to be able to thrive in your role and what you're doing as an entrepreneur. So if there are any things that you would like to add to this, I would love for you to, drop some comments. You can find the link to the show notes in this episode's description, so go and check that out. And while we're here, please don't forget to go check out the Evangeline Worldwide shop, where I got you, boo, on all the first gen little happy. We got the HBCU first gen tea out. We got the 27 moments of reflection out, 1865 out, notebooks out. Go check that out, and just know that if you jump on the mailing list, you also get 15% off of your first order. So whatever you put in your cart, you're going to get 15% off of it for sure. But in the meantime, I definitely want you to continue to be good to yourself. I definitely want you to continue to grow. I definitely want you to continue to challenge yourself as well. And to just remember that everything is a journey. Show up as best as you can show up. It is what it is. Be empowered in all that you do, and continue to trust that what's for you will always be. But until the next time, continue to be good to yourself. Know that I love you. Peace.